Okay, so I'm going to take you through how we're taking MyData mainstream. We've been on a journey of about 4 or 5 years now as a company.
Can you please talk a bit slower?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Native will know. At least I know.
If I start speeding up, just put your hand up.
Yeah. All right.
So we've been on a journey of about 4 or 5 years with the purpose of making MyData, what we call MeData, mainstream with millions of users. And that's a challenge. For the last 3 or 4 years, and certainly coming to this event and many others, we're still talking about concepts. And it's time that we started breaking through into the mainstream. And this is our progress. We're well on the way from that point of view. I'm going to take you through who Citizen Me is, what MyData platforms are, because it's worth kind of recapping on that, and then some examples of MyData in action, what we call MeData, same thing. So who's Citizen Me? For me, I saw this at MyData event 3 years ago, and this is a fantastic explanation of kind of what we're all kind of about. It's basically about taking data in silos owned by brands, which is kind of Facebook or Experian or any other kind of like organization where traditionally with CRM we think about data being held in one place, it's locked up in a silo, and that organization basically sees personal data as being a value item on their balance sheet. With GDPR coming through this year, they're now also seeing it as a liability on their balance sheet, which is a good switch. What we're about as an organization for Citizen Me, though, is basically shifting across into a Web 3.0, redistributing the internet out to individuals. So personal data goes out to individuals. It sits on a device sits on your mobile phone on your device, and you can basically pull that information into one place. So you have a very eclectic range of different types of data, all owned by you and controlled by you. And that's the purpose of what we're doing. I'm sure a lot of us have come into this from different angles. For me, I sold my last startup, which was a mobile video platform business, to an American company back in 2011. And then I was looking at my next project, trying to work out what I could do for these two on the left, two of my daughters, looking at what's really going to have an impact for them for the next 100 years. So hopefully they're going to be around through most of this century. And that the massive issue, and I've got an internet strategy commercial background, building businesses, that the massive issue that we have as a society is what happens with our data. Everything, as we switch into an information age from an industrial age, is what happens with personal data. It's a big missing hole in all of our economies, and we're in this position where AI and access to personal data is the new power play. So we're moving from an oil economy into a personal data economy. The one thing that's missing is all of us actually having agency and control of our data. So I started mapping out what would need to happen for that kind of business to work, and then I kind of gradually also realized there are other people working on this kind of stuff. Version 1.0 of the platform we launched in 2014. It was all about privacy management. So we took terms and conditions for the top 30 applications, looked at the apps on your phone, told you which of those applications were good and which ones were bad. And for the bad ones, you could tap. Facebook, for instance. You could tap on Facebook and you could go straight into the terms and conditions and your privacy settings for Facebook and switch stuff on and off. We had about 14,000 downloads. We hit Wired magazine. This is kind of a year after Snowden. But what we found was that when we looked at those 14,000 downloads, people would come back once every week and then once every month. And kind of the retention just wasn't there, apart from about 10% of the population who really cared. For 90% of the population, what they actually wanted was transparency, and they wanted value. And we did a lot of research after that, and we just discovered that actually what people want is a very, very, very simple application where you have different types of activities in a stream where you can partake in activities with your data. So what we have developed, and it's taken us a long time to kind of get this honed, and we hit kind of virality last summer. We've got an application where you can do different things with your data. So there's things you can do with your data. You can look at donating your data to a charity. So you have data inside your application, you can donate to a charity, for instance, health research. You can get insights about yourself, so you can get insights about anything from how intelligent am I according to my Facebook profile picture, and we run the algorithm on device and tell you how intelligent you are according to your Facebook profile picture, kind of shower fun stuff, through to am I going to get diabetes in the next 3 or 4 years, which we do with medical research. Every time you do one of those activities, you fully consent after tapping one of those tiles. You pull in data from the various different sources that we can then run an algorithm on to give you the insight. So for social media info, for instance, you're basically pulling your data from Twitter or from Facebook, etc. And you basically get insights from social media. You can also put in your step count information from your phone, put it together with your height, your age, your weight, and then combine that with maybe how many hours a day you're watching Netflix, and you start getting things like how sedentary you are, whether you're overweight, what your fitness levels are, etc., etc. That's really, really valuable information for things like propensity for diabetes or heart disease. So these blue tiles are all about you driving insights. Again, all the data sits in the application. The AI is run in the application, and we have lots and lots of different activities we've developed with third parties, how green you are according to your smart meter data, we're working with a power company, for instance. Those all pop up as insights in the stream. We also have these green insights where you can anonymously transact data sets immediately for cash, and you get immediate cash reward. So with a combination of these different tiles, we also have kind of compare yourself to other people like you, which is great kind of for battling things like fake news. But a combination of these tiles, we drive huge amounts of usage and virality. So we can grow the community at about 3 to 5% per week. We're currently at about 120,000 people active in the community. In July, that was 100,000. So you can see we're kind of growing very, very fast now. This is all people transacting personal data in real time. The data that we hold on the app, this needs a bit of updating, but we've got things like driving license info in the UK from DVLA, so you can basically verify that someone actually does have a driving license. We have financial information coming in from open banking in the UK, lots and lots of healthcare information, lots of device information. We run kind of psychometrics with various different universities. We work with health researchers, etc. So huge amount. This is kind of the tip of the iceberg for us, but we have huge amounts of data already sitting inside the application. The power of this, as mentioned earlier by the DigiMe guys, the power is when you basically connect up the disparate pieces of data. So if you connect, for instance, step count plus sentiment. So step count plus sentiment, you can basically see if you're happier when you're walking. If you put in your retail history, you can see you're happier when you're walking because you're in a shopping mall buying something. So that every time you add another layer of data, you get another nuance in terms of the personal insights for you. So the critical thing with all of this, once you have all that data, is right now we have $1 trillion marketplace for personal data. All of our data is transacted without us really having any involvement in it at all. The companies that are transacting that data actually don't want you to know too much about what's being transacted because they make lots and lots of money. So what we do as a company, instead of you being exploited and mined for your data, our attitude is more that your data should be more like water. It should nourish and it should be fresh and refresh you and be valuable for you. So what we've created is this marketplace where we can have any organization on the right-hand side in green coming in, looking for anonymized insights in that aggregate across large populations. They, in real time, ask for data sets from, say, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people on the left-hand side, and that transaction happens in real time. So you transact your data for maybe £3, that £3 goes straight into a PayPal account. So you have a real-time transaction of data. The data sets on the left-hand side are combinations of raw data, self-reported, attitudinal information, and also kind of the results of the AI that we run inside the device. Okay. In terms of the dashboard for clients, you basically set up an exchange quite simply. This is I took screen grabs of these yesterday. So you can basically see when you're putting an exchange together what you're asking for. You then have a big drop-down list of data that's available. There's a lot more data available than this. This is the kind of the vanilla open access. If you would like other information, you have to come to us and basically clear kind of various screening criteria. But there's probably about 400, 500 data types that you can request from individuals. Again, everything's anonymous by default. The company's anonymous when they're requesting the info, and the individual's anonymous as well. I thought it'd be worth going through kind of MyData platforms in general, because we kind of, at these events, we've been talking kind of very eclectically about proof points and lots of kind of bits and lots of proof of concepts, I guess. There are lots and lots of personal data platforms. We're one of a bunch of them. DigiMe spoke earlier. There's Cozy Cozy Cloud, Controlio, etc. We're all kind of looking at different parts of the marketplace, and one thing we tend to do as an industry, because we're all at events like this, and there's a little bit of an echo chamber, is basically see each other as being competitors. So for instance, we're similar to DigiMe or we're similar to Mesinfo. Actually, what we're doing is we're targeting very different markets. Sorry about the mess on the slide. I couldn't get the arrows to the right. What the reality is that basically for the MyData companies on the left-hand side, we're all taking different approaches into an existing massive marketplace. And because those companies have an industrial era mindset, those companies are either harvesting data or they're broking and selling data without us being aware of it. So all of the companies on the left-hand side are actually kind of attacking in different ways the stuff on the right-hand side. We're starting to see companies on the right-hand side move left because they realize they need to change. The critical thing for us as a movement, if you like, is basically making sure that the companies on the left actually have an opportunity and a chance to really kind of participate and make changes. GDPR has been great in terms of kind of starting to address this in terms of regulation, but we need proper commercial organizations that are really going to take this to market. We've gone from kind of echo chamber movement, we actually need to have consumers using these platforms. For us, in terms of competition, for example, we're in the insight space, so we compete with people like SurveyMonkey up in the top left, and we compete with people like Experian and Equifax down at the bottom. And our play is basically you can have Experian levels of data or Facebook levels of data in real time with ethics. And these guys basically are still doing kind of clipboard surveys effectively online. Right? So in terms of the commercial cases for us, we've got a number of different clients we're working with. There's a bunch more on top of this, but I'll take you through a couple of those as well. So Wolf Hollins is a big international branding agency, part of Omnicom. Wolf Hollins, a lot of the big brand names that you can think of internationally have basically been advised by Wolf Hollins. They've picked up on this theme of the fact that people increasingly look to businesses to basically help them make the world a better place. People are running out of hope with kind of what's happening with the political system. And we did kind of a large piece of research using lots of different types of data and also some self-reported info. So we included kind of mixes of social media activity data, app usage data, psychometrics, openness, conscientiousness, etc., and then some cultural values information. This all came off AI inside the application. And we basically did this research which showed us that basically we have mass pessimism. This was across Germany, Brazil, UK, US. 50% of people think that things are worse than they used to be and they're not going to get any better, which is kind of quite interesting for us in terms of kind of the insight that came through, and then we can do psychometric splits on this kind of information as well and that kind of thing. The second thing we found is that there's a fundamental change required. People aren't looking really to go back, which is kind of not what you think with kind of Make America Great Again, all that kind of stuff. But actually people expect some sort of new fundamental change to kind of align to the big changes we're seeing as a society. The most interesting thing from this is that they're not looking to governments to do that, or even kind of activists and campaigners. They're looking to business and individuals to make the difference. And if you think about what we're doing, basically it's about businesses and individuals, all of us getting together to really make that change. And that was kind of a fascinating insight for us. The result of doing that, for clients of Wolf Hollins, they get kind of all the different data splits behind us. The result was that we picked up a Webby Award, which is kind of the Oscars for the internet, early this year. For Wolf Hollins, they basically have this amazing data set that they basically share with their clients in terms of trying to get their clients to look at personal data in a much more ethical way, which are aligned with things like GDPR that's coming through. The second case that we have, IFF. IFF you won't have heard of. IFF provide all of, if you see on the top right-hand side, they provide all of the flavors and fragrances for pretty much any consumer packaged good. There are 2 companies in the world that do it, and this is one of them. They're a $4 billion company, so that cheese and onion flavoring in your crisps comes from these guys. The scent in your Dove shampoo comes from these guys. They have a requirement to really look at sustainability, and they're trying to work out, we have this kind of big attitudinal change happening in society in terms of attitudes to green tech, to sustainability, eco-awareness. So they're looking at using, or they're using a platform and combining it with psychometrics and various other data types. So things like eco-behavior rating, which we do with a German power company. So we run that algorithm in the app so you can find out how green you are. Based on, well, for next year it'll be based on smart meter data. You can also combine things like psychometrics, HMD5, etc. Putting those data sets together, they can really understand what the future attitudes are going to be around things like, should Dove shampoo have a sustainability angle, for instance, and how important should that be across large populations across, say, India, Brazil, and the UK. They can do that research in an hour. They can get all of that data and get the insights off that in an hour, running the platform. They do that self-service. They do that across multiple brands. So the brands we're working with at the moment are across Unilever and some across Procter & Gamble. All these brands are basically doing research on the platform. The third use case I was going to take you through is Tandem Bank. Tandem Bank are a challenger bank in the UK. They have a massive issue because they're basically trying to work out how they break through in the UK. They've got incumbent high street brands. So Tandem Bank, brand new bank, they're looking at how they break through and how they provide a compelling opportunity for individuals to basically sign up. They set up this co-community, co-founders community, and with that co-founders community, they basically have around kind of 12,000 people in the UK who have signed up. With Citizen.me, they basically sign up into the Citizen.me platform. They can share lots of eclectic data anonymously back with Tandem. Tandem then get deep information about what's actually happening with their customer base without needing to share any information directly. And it's driven their jobs to be done approach to product innovation. So they're basically looking at, instead of launching with a high street bank current account, for instance, what they're launching with is credit cards for travel where you don't pay transaction fees, which in our jobs to be done mapping based on all their data sets, discovered is the number one kind of use case for 25 to 35-year-olds in the UK. And we did that through the combination of data and also kind of survey questions. And again, we can do that kind of turnaround work in an hour. It's all self-service, it's all off the platform. Once you set that up, you then do kind of ongoing iterative kind of touch points with your customers, so you have a real-time understanding of who your customers are. So for Tandem, the outcome is that basically they're very much kind of on your side. They give you copies of your data. I think they're one of the first challenger banks that's basically opening up data back for individuals beyond the high street banks who have to. And the results for us overall, we're now on 120,000 active citizens. We're in about 180 countries. Our community growth each week is about 3 to 5%. We have about 1,000, just under 1,000 clients signed up actually. 3.5 million MyData transactions so far, and next year we expect to get up to about a million citizens. And these are all active individuals transacting MyData. Okay. And that's the end of my presentation.